For lesson 6.6 on page 333, you are actually going to need counters or something to be used as counters because we're going to do arrays, but they want you to do it. So if you don't have something in front of you that are counters are ready, pause this video and find something. It can be actual counters, it can be pennies, it could even be a kind of food. Make sure you check with your parents first to make sure that's okay. But you could use like pieces of popcorn or Cheerios, or if you don't want to use any of those, you can even just take a piece of paper, any kind of paper, and cut it up or rip it up into 30 different sections. So you need to find 30 counters of some kind. So if you don't have them in front of you, pause the video and go get 30 counters and then come back. All right, so we are going to model division with arrays. So we've done arrays before, but we've drawn them. Remember when we would draw all the squares and then they turned into circles because that's a lot of squares to draw. So this time we're going to do arrays, but we're going to be using manipulatives or whatever you brought to then show the arrays to make division problems out of. So the first question says, you can use arrays to model division and find out equal groups. So count out 30 tiles. So that's how many I had you bring. Make sure you have 30. Make an array to find out how many rows of 5 are in 30. So what that means is they want you to take all 30 of the counters and make 5 equal rows. So you're going to do that by putting all 30 counters out, and then you're going to start by making rows. So bring one up to make one row, take a second one up to make a second row, a third row, a fourth row, and a fifth row. Now you're going to take the rest of the 30 counters that you have, and you're going to bring up and move one more to each of those rows. So now you have 2 in each row. Then you're going to move one more up, and you're going to keep doing that until each of the rows has an equal number in them and you have no more of your counters left. So keep moving them up until all of your counters are gone. Okay, after you're done with that, we're counting how many are going to be in each row. So you should have 5 rows. So that means that going down you should have 5. Now I want you to count how many you have across. So if you count, you should have 1, which is the first row we made. Then you should have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you should have 6 in each of your rows. So on page 333, A says count out the 30 tiles and make rows of 5 tiles, which is what we did for A and B. Then C, we kept moving up the tiles so we got rid of all 30. How many rows of 5 did you make? Our answer is going to be 6. So we made 6. So now we're going to answer some questions about the array that you have right next to you. So explain how you use the tiles to find the number of rows of 5 in 30. So we started with 5 rows and then we added one more to each row until all 30 are gone. So number 1 on page 330, you're going to put add 1 to each row until all 30 were gone. So for number 1, you should have add 1 to each row until all 30 were gone. Okay, number 2, what multiplication equation could you write for the array? So now we're doing multiplication. So when we did arrays for multiplication before, how you wrote the problem was you looked at how many you had in a row and how many you had in a column, and you multiplied those. So we had 5 rows. So our first number is going to be 5. Then you're going to do the times sign because 5 rows. Now we're going to count how many columns we have. So if you count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our second number is going to be 6. So we now have 5 times 6. Then equals, we're going to put how many counters we have all together, which is 30. So for number 2, you're going to have 5 times 6 equals 30. Okay, number 3 says, tell us how to use an array to find how many rows of 6 are in 30. So What I want you to do, instead of explaining to me in words, I want you to use your array. So put all 30 back together in a pile. Now, instead of having 5 rows, you're going to have 6. So now take 6 out of your pile and put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then out of your pile, take all the rest of the counters and put 1 more in each of the rows. So now there should be 2 in each row. Then you're going to keep doing that until all of your counters are gone. So when you're done with that, you should have 6 rows and all your counters should be gone because you put 1 more in each every time in each row. So if you count now how many you have in each row, you should count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are now going to be 6 in each row. So on number 3, I want you to put that there are 5 in each row because we have 6 rows and in each of those rows there are 5 counters. So you're going to put 5 counters. And then flip it to the back. Okay, so what we did on the first page was we used our counters to make an array for multiplication, which is what we did last chapter. Now they're going to show us how we can also use that information to figure out a division problem using the same array of rows and columns. So you can write a division equation to show how many rows of 5 are in 30. Show the array you made in the investigation by completing the drawing. So we already did the drawing. We already did the array. Now they just want us to copy down a picture of what it looked like. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. And then they started filling them in. They already put 2 on each and they started filling in the 3rd row. So we're going to keep filling in the 3rd row. If you don't want to fill in the squares, that's okay. So now we have 3 in each row. So now we've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So now we've used 15 and we need to keep drawing till we've used 30. So we're going to use one more, we're going to draw one more row and see how many we've used after that. So after one more row, we've used 20. So now we have to keep going. We're not to 30 yet. So now we've used 5 more. So now we're to 25. So we have to go again because we are not to 30 yet. So after one more row, we added 5 more, which would make us to 30. So now you should have 5 rows across, and in each of those rows, you should have 6 blocks in each row. So below that, it gives you the division problem of 30 divided by 5 equals blank. So to solve that problem, we use 30 counters, and we put them in rows of 5. Or we put them in 5 different rows and we have to count how many are in each column or how many down there are. So if we count one row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means that there are 6 in each of the group of 5. So if we have 30 divided by 5, our answer is going to be 6. So in that gray box, you're going to put the number 6. So there are blank rows of 5 tiles in 30. So because there are 5 across, they want to know how many down there are, which we just figured out. There are 6 rows of 5 tiles in 30. So 30 divided by 5 is 6. So try this. Count out 24 tiles. So take away 6 of the counters that you have. So they want you to make an array with those counters, but they want you to put them in 4 rows. So using those counters, you're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 across the top. Then you're going to use the rest of your counters to fill in. So go one at a time and put 1 below each of the counters that you already had until all 24 are gone. When you're done with that, then they want you to take what that looks like and draw it over in the box on page 334. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, They just need you to fill in now how many are in each of those rows. So they do have the rows. It might be changed between rows and columns, but just whatever way you have 4, count how many are in each of the rows, and that's how many boxes you're going to draw. So fill in the picture with what yours looks like. Which if you have 24 tiles and you put them in rows of, and put them in 4 rows, they should each have 6. So each of the ones, they drew one for you, so you should be drawing 5 more next to each of the blocks they gave you. So how many tiles are in each row? So they have one for you already. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're going to write 6. So what division problem can you write for your array? So when you practice this, how many ever counters or how many ever boxes or the biggest number of your division problem is going to be the first number. That's how many counters you have. So we had 24, so that number is going to go first. So you have 24. Then you're going to do divided by. You can either write how many rows there were or how many were in each row. So I'm going to write how many rows there were because that's another information piece that they gave us. So I'm going to have 24 divided by 4 equals, I'm going to have how many was in each one, which is 6. So you should have 24 divided by 4 equals 6. Okay, on page 335, after I explain it, I want you to pause the video so you can practice these on your own. So you're going to do numbers 1 through 8. So all of them have the same, the top 4. You're going to use your tiles to make an array and to solve the problem. So you don't have to draw anything on this paper, but you do need to do it with the tiles and diagram it out. And all you need to do on the blue line is write the answer. So all you're going to do is you're going to put one number on the blue line after you've worked it out with your squares. On 5, 6, 7, and 8, they give you how many tiles there are and how many rows they want you to make, and you need to put that into a full division problem. So you're going to have a number divided by another number and then the answer. So 1 through 4, you just need one number on the blue line to be your answer. And 5, 6, 7, and 8, you need to have a full division problem. So pause the video, use your counters to work them out, and answer 1 through 8. All right, number 1 on page 335. How many rows of 3 are in 18? So you should have counted 18 counters out and made 3 rows and then added one more to each row. So if I have 18 total counters and they're in rows and they're in 3 different rows, my answer is going to be 6. So there are 6 in each row. So number 1 should be 6. Number 2, how many rows of 6 are in 12? So you should have counted out 12 counters and put 6 rows and then put the counters in those rows until you ran out of counters, and your answer should have been 2. Number 3, 21. How many rows of 7 are in 21? So you started with 21, and then you're going to put 1 in each row 7 times. So you have 7 different rows, and then keep putting them in there till all 21 are gone, and your answer is going to be 3. And number 4, how many rows of 8 are in 32? So you only had 32 counters before, so either you needed to go grab 2 more or just know that there was 2 more. So you put out 8 rows, so you're going to take 1 counter each and start each of the rows and then keep dividing up the counters until you got rid of all 32. So how many rows of 8 are in 32? Your answer is 4. So now the second half of this page, you had to write a full division problem. So 25 tiles and 5 rows. You'd have got 25 of the counters, started 5 different rows, and put all the counters in the rows till they were all gone. So the division problem you should have wrote for number 5 was 25, then the divided by symbol, 5, because they told you how many tiles total you had. They told you how many rows you needed to make out of it, and then your answer was how many was in each row, and your answer was 5. Number 6, 14 tiles and 2 rows. So you had 14. You divided them up into just 2 rows. So 14 divided by 2, and then your answer was 7. You should have had 7 in each row. Number 7, 28 in 4 rows. So you took your 28, started 4 different rows, and kept putting them in the rows so they were all gone. So you would have had 28 divided by 4, and then your answer, which is 7. There should have been 7 in each row. And 27 tiles in 9 rows. So take your 27 tiles, start 9 rows, and then put 1 more under each of them. So you have 27 divided by the number of rows they gave you, which is 9. So you have 27 divided by 9, and your answer is 3. Okay, we're not going to do 9 and 10. So you can go ahead and flip it to page 337, which is going to be your homework. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 are just like we just did. 1 and 2, they give you a problem to solve, and you need to tell them how many rows they're going to be. You can put rows behind your answer, or you can just put an answer. That's fine too. So you do need to do them with counters because there's not enough space to draw it. So have your counters next to you and put them in the rows to figure out how many rows will be in the problem that they give you. 3 and 4, you need to write a division problem. They tell you how many total tiles and how many rows, and you need to solve how many would be in each row. 5 and 6 are word problems, doing the same thing, so use your counters so you can figure out the answer. A dressmaker has 24 buttons. He needs 3 buttons to make 1 dress. How many dresses can he make with the 24 buttons? So looking for important information. First, how many buttons does he have? 24 buttons. How many does he need to make each dress? 3 buttons. So it's like saying that you have 24 tiles and you have 3 rows, and you're going to figure out how many are going to be in each row. That's how many dresses he can make. Number 6, Liana buys 36 party favors for her 9 guests. She gives an equal number of favors to each guest. How many party favors does each guest get? So start by how many does she have? She has 36 party favors. And then how many guests does she have, which is 9. So that's like saying 36 counters in rows of 9. So figure out how many would be in each row, and that's how many party favors each guest get. You don't have to do number 7. On page 338, number 1, Mr. Canton places 24 desks in 6 equals rows. How many desks are in each row? So there's 24 total desks. That's one piece of information. And they're putting them in 6 equal rows. So I have 24 counters in 6 rows. How many desks would be in each row? Number 2, which division equation is shown by the array? So you're going to look at the counters. First number you're going to write how many counters are there all together. Put that number down first. Then you're going to write divided, the divided by sign. Then you're going to tell me how many rows there are. So count how many rows there are. Put that number next. Then you're going to put the equal sign and put how many columns you have, or how many are in each row. Spiral review. Number 3. Amy has 2 rows of 4 sports trophies on each of her 3 shelves. How many sports trophies does Amy have? So this has 3 important numbers in it. So there's 2 rows, and each of the rows have 4 sports trophies, but then she has that on 3 different shelves. You need to figure out how many are all together. Remember, if in multiplication it matters the order that you multiply, or if it doesn't. Number 4, what is the unknown factor? 9 times P equals 45. All you're going to solve for is tell me what the letter P stands for. So 9 times what gets you to 45? Number 5, Sam has 7 stacks with 4 quarters each. How many quarters does Sam have? So take how many groups or stacks he has and multiply it by how many quarters are in each of those stacks. Number 6 says skip count. How many counters are there in all? So they don't want you to count every single counter. They want you to skip count. So if you look at how many counters are in each one, there are 2. So you're going to skip count by 2s for each of the bigger ovals, and then tell me how many counters you have. All right, so when you're done with 337 and 338, please take a picture and send it to me. Thank you.